Hello, everybody. Happy Monday. I'm Jillian Sakovits, and welcome to Full-Time Review. It is presented by Amazon Business. What a show we have for you today. We look back at the biggest storylines of the NWSL weekend. Then Asli Pelit joins me to talk about what we learned from this weekend's action, including are the Seattle Reign and the Portland Thorns contenders this season. A few weeks ago, Meg Linehan and Tamara Griffin did a show about that maybe the chaos is slipping away. We're starting to find some form here in NWSL, but now it's been wild back-to-back weekends. What have you taken away from the last 14 days or so of NWSL action?
It was so funny because they said that, and then I felt like they jinxed it in a way because last weekend happened. And we've gone from maybe the NWSL is settling down to, I'd say, pure chaos, mayhem in a matter of like 2 match weekends. And what I'm observing is between these wild comebacks, incredible goals coming from, the usual suspects, but also from rookies that so much potential. It shows the potential of this league, right? These young players coming on board and doing magical things that perhaps it's, unexpected from, someone who's just taking the pitch for the first time in such a competitive league. And then the teams at the bottom flipping the script and like they're, beating the top contenders. I feel like it's been a reminder to us that predictability still has no place at NWSL. The league is, yes, growing structurally, but on the pitch, the chaos is alive and kicking. And frankly, it's better than ever. And just an example from this weekend, I can't stop thinking about the Spirit versus Angel City, to be honest. I mean, what did you think of that? Thompson sisters, rookie, not so rookie, Riley Tiernan's 98th minute goal. I mean, it's like they got the 3 points, but also on the other side, I was at awe with Esme Morgan's ability to score in predictable goals. So what a game, right? What an incredible way to kick off the weekend.
A chaotic soccer match would certainly include Angel City needing to take back the lead 3 different times to win that one. 2 of the other big winners also from over the weekend were Seattle and Portland. Cascadia should be feeling really happy right about now. In your opinion, though, are these one-offs, or how much should fans be considering the Reign and the Thorns as potentially serious contenders?
Both those teams I love watching because I'm also so excited of what they are capable of doing. But for Portland, let's start from there. Absolutely trending that way with Rob Gale at helm. We can see that there is a big shift in mentality in his players. Vibes are like I would say lethal again. They're going for it. They're still missing their key players like Sophia Wilson, but they're playing like a team and they're proving something. But perhaps we have to see a few more weeks before we actually, seal this conversation and say, yes, they're a contender. As for Seattle, I feel like it's been an interesting, gutsy couple of weeks, no doubt, but I'm not fully sold yet, I would say. They've shown great fights. They won the Cascadian Derby. It was amazing. And then beat Kansas City, but then tied with Bay FC last weekend, and then lost to Orlando 2 weekends ago. So one hot stretch of few wins. I don't know if it erases the inconsistency we've seen in this team, but I would call them a sleeping giant. And I'm going to need a few more wins before I call them contenders, to be honest.
Asla, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
And now to talk about what went on this weekend. Across the pond, we bring in Meg Linehan. Hi, Meg.
I know, it's such a strange thing for me to be talking about what's happening in England instead of the U.S.
Because you can do it all, Meg. That's because you can do it all. We have to talk about Michele Kang's Lionesses, owner also of the Washington Spirit, also of the 8-time Champions League winners Lyon. Michele Kang acquired this club 17 months ago. And then, Meg, this weekend, they are promoted into the WSL.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it can be overstated what kind of an accomplishment this is. Obviously, there is the next step of staying in the Women's Super League, right? That we can get to that later. But when you think about this as kind of a trial balloon of an independent women's team, now first in the championship and now moving into the WSL, it's such an interesting premise because when you look at all the teams in England, they are associated with the men's clubs, right? And they are leaning on that history and they are building off of that identity. So this is going to be really interesting to watch, but it's already been such a journey over these past 17 months.
It's so important to talk about what's gone on going back to December of 2023. But we also have to talk about what went on this past weekend. It was a dramatic 2-2 draw to Birmingham City to get promoted.
Yeah, I mean, so London City's coming in top of the league, right? I don't think they'd lost the game since November, but with only a 2-point lead in the standings. And so all London City needs to do is get a draw. They go up 2-0. Izzy Goodwin scores like the most absolute banger of goals, and I think they were feeling a little confident. They get that second goal. There's a 2-0 lead, and then all of a sudden Emily von Egmond steps up, gets one for Birmingham, and then they get that kind of, close on to the late of the game equalizer. And so all of a sudden it is pure drama. There's 10 minutes of stoppage time. They are hanging on. It felt like a extended power play in a hockey game, right? Of just kind of waves and waves and waves of pressure from Birmingham. And yeah, in the end, London City holds on. They get to celebrate. They've got the backward shirts on, which I still don't really get that say winners.
I love it. I love backward shirts.
they just confuse me. But just a really interesting and good, that game was really fun, at least here in the US, that kind of breakfast game that's going to get your heart rate going at the start of the day, just pure entertainment.
And heavily involved in that entertainment and the celebrations was Kang in attendance. What does that symbolize?
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting. I think our peers over in England are struggling with a little bit. I think, it is a pretty normal thing to see an owner in the middle of celebrations. She's certainly been in her fair share with the Washington Spirit. She has already won a league title with Lyon as well, and she has been present in all of them. She is a very public owner, right? And I think that there is this sense that she should be celebrating with the team, right? I think the team likes her. We saw the team kind of involving her in their celebrations, but there is a sense that this is very much a part of her overall project in women's football. And London City Lionesses getting that promotion is an extension of those larger goals, but also something that she, I'm sure, wants to celebrate herself. I'm also, every time they cut to her in the stands, I was like, she is probably having a heart attack right now. So, especially once they lost that 2-0 lead, I'm sure she wanted to celebrate herself anyway.
Big picture, when you talk about what Kang has done there, we're used to it with the Washington Spirit, but putting her money where her mouth is, purchasing and renovating training grounds, the signings, the coaches. What has her impact been on this club financially?
I think just in terms of, the championship is one level of project, right? The Women's Super League, I think we're going to have to be keeping an eye on that, especially heading into the next season. But when you think about bringing in Asli, bringing in Saki Kumagai, bringing in the coaching staff, that level of investment, it was completely different before. And so there was absolutely a build to get this team into the Women's Super League. Now the question is, what is the build going to look like to keep them in the Super League? But we know that Michele Kang is willing to invest, willing to make massive improvements. She's already gone out and found land for a training facility for this club. That's the blueprint. She's following her own blueprint. So I do think that there is a pretty significant difference of where this team was before and where this team is right now, and then where this team is going in the future.
And we've really seen this across world football a lot in the last few weeks. Ryan Reynolds, Wrexham FC, getting promoted into the championship. I think back to back promotions for the first time ever. Meg, and that's fun, and the TV show, and now it's in the men's side, hey, listen, getting into the championship is a whole new story of then getting into the Premier League, and you're talking about that same point now of the real test now that you're in the WSL. What has the response been in England to the way that Kang is approaching ownership of her club?
I can only speak anecdotally. I think there is a lot of skepticism, right? I mean, and this is, I don't think it's necessarily just a Michele Kang thing. I think there is generally this nervousness around American owners coming into a space, right, and making the game feel more American. I think there's a lot of potential fear over the pause of promotion and relegation in the women's game, right? That concept was floated around. And so I think there is this sense of, is the game still going to be the game in England, right? And fundamentally, I do think Michele Kang, she came into this space not really knowing a lot about football and has really done a lot of work. Clearly is a business for her, right? She is in this to make money. She is in this to spend to make money. But I still think right at the moment, they're kind of where NWSL, when she was first taking over the Washington Spirit, a lot of people were thinking about, like, what are her motives? She's willing to be out there on the field with the fans, with the players, right? And so I think maybe we've just gotten a little bit more used to it in the US. And now I think England is going to get to experience the Michele Kang approach.
Meg, thanks so much.
Thank you.
Did you know The Athletic has partnered with Yahoo Sports to provide free best-in-class coverage of women's sports? That's right. Check out the Women's Sports Hub at sports.yahoo.com/women-sports. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you soon.